This company that we're about to talk about made it on my top 6 stocks to buy now list from last Sunday. It's SRAC, and it's up about 14% this week alone. The potential for this company is absolutely massive, but there are some also potential pitfalls and concerns that we're going to talk about in this video as well. So stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I'm Richard Allen. We talk about stocks on this channel, and this stock is in the space industry. SRAC is a SPAC that will be merging with a company called Momentus. And I want to jump right into the chart to show you how this SPAC is trading right now, because just last month, this was around $10 per share. And actually within the last, 5 days, it was down at $12. Now it's up at $15.75. So let's go back to the 1 month chart. But look at this growth here. And we see this with a lot of SPACs, okay? We see it jump after they announce a merger. They announced a merger back in October, and it's now finally starting to pop, okay? Now, what is special about this company is we don't have a lot of opportunity to invest in space, to invest in these companies that are exploring space and doing awesome things in space. So that's why this is kind of a unique opportunity right now, and potentially why this is taking off right now as it did. They just announced a deal this past week with a Canadian company for, they say, last mile delivery, which is hilarious because the moon is freaking 240,000 miles away. But they inked a deal with a Canadian company that we're going to talk about here in a second. And then we're also going to talk about some concerns with the CEO, who is seeking asylum right now from Russia here in the United States, and how that could be kind of a murky situation depending on how all that plays out. So there's some concerns in the short term with this company, for sure, okay? So let's just jump right in. Momentus to become public through merger with Stable Road Acquisition Corp. That's SRAC, okay? SRAC is the ticker symbol. The merger is to create the first publicly traded space infrastructure company at the forefront of the new space economy. Guys, this is massive. Like, Elon Musk talks about how SpaceX will never be a public company. He's talked about making Starlink, the satellite internet company that is part of SpaceX. He's talking about bringing that public, and that would be really exciting. But there really isn't any publicly traded space company that we can really invest in. So Momentus partners and customers include SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, and NASA already. Momentus to become publicly listed through a business combination with Stable Road Acquisition Corp. So you guys always ask me about these ticker symbols when we talk about SPACs, okay? And one of you had a great explanation in the comics. SRAC is just the normal ticker symbol. That's what you'll find on like Robinhood, okay? But you might also find SRACU and SRACW on different, like your TD Ameritrade or WeBull or something like that, okay? SRACU is the unit which comprises SRAC and SRACW, which is the warrants. What the unit is it's 1 full share of the company plus 1/3 of a warrant. What the warrants are is the company in the future can choose to allow you to exercise your warrants or not, and you have the ability to buy shares at potentially a cheaper price. So you could purchase a warrant for, like, let's say $3 or $4, okay? And then you have the ability to purchase the share at like $11.50, even if the stock is like $20-some a share. So warrants could be a good way to make some potential extra money. But you guys always ask about that. What's the U and what's the W? So hopefully that helps in explaining that. If I'm explaining it in a bad way, I always ask you guys, please correct me down in the comments. Do it in a constructive way. But I would appreciate any sort of correction down there, okay? So the combined company will have an estimated enterprise value of approximately $1.2 billion and will become listed on NASDAQ under the ticker symbol MNTS. That's MNTS. This is expected to occur in the first quarter of 2021, okay? So Momentus will have a big influx of cash, so they'll be able to build some of these cool vehicles that we're going to talk about. And they'll have a total value of $1.2 billion which is obviously set to go up depending on how the price reacts right now. It's already probably valued much, much higher than $1.2 billion. So what does Momentus do? What does Momentus do? I think this tells a really good, gives us a really good example of what they do. So they say they're kind of dubbed as like the Uber of satellites right now. And essentially what they're doing is when a satellite gets delivered by, let's say, like a SpaceX rocket, okay? The SpaceX rocket doesn't always just drop them off right where they need to be in orbit, right? So the SpaceX rocket will drop the satellite off, and then Momentus will come in, pick the satellite up, and then bring it to its place in orbit around the Earth or around the moon. That's what they're working on right now. But they're also working on technology that will allow companies to explore outer space, period. So they're working on some exciting technology that we'll talk about in a second as well. So this deal they inked with a Canadian company is really, really cool, and I want to focus on this as the majority of the presentation here, okay? So to date, the contracts and customers that Momentus have won with our innovative approach to orbital positioning and ride sharing have been below lunar orbit. Today, we are excited to share the news of a new rideshare program for small satellites beyond low Earth orbit using our new vehicle, Artoride, including the details of our first lunar customer contract with a Canadian aerospace company. I don't know how to say this. If somebody knows how to pronounce this, please let me know. I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. Currently in development, Artoride will unlock new services in high altitude orbits like medium Earth orbits, geosynchronous orbits, and highly elliptical orbits as well, or even lunar orbits for small and medium-sized satellites and cargo. This revolutionary new vehicle is being designed for high Delta V missions of up to 5 kilometers per second, which will allow small and mid-sized satellites to access orbits at a very low cost. So this is a similar cost structure to what SpaceX is doing, okay? SpaceX is revolutionizing this idea of reusable rockets, right? I watch everything SpaceX that I can get my hands on. I love space, and it's exciting to see them. Like, it's so complicated to use a rocket to begin with, but to then land that same rocket is absolutely crazy. It's crazy how complicated that is. So it's cool that they're going to be using a similar sort of structure where this Artoride vehicle or their vehicles in general will be reusable. So let's talk about kind of that structure, okay? Fully reusable Artoride will be refueled after its initial mission and will continue on to conduct multiple subsequent missions in space. We plan to begin annual and semi-annual Artoride shuttle services beginning in 2023. So this is kind of the stage 1, 2, 3, 4 of what they will be doing. So let's go over it quick. So number 1, while refueling propellant in low Earth orbit, Momentus Artoride service vehicle will prepare for customer pickup. So right here you see that this rocket, let's pretend this is a SpaceX rocket and it just took off from Earth. It's in low Earth orbit. It drops off the satellite. Number 2, Artoride will pick up and transport customer satellites to a precision orbit. Now they're working on this Artoride vehicle will be able to pick up multiple customers at the same time. So let's say, that's why they're calling it this rideshare thing, right? So SpaceX drops off a bunch of satellites for a bunch of different companies. Artoride will pick up those satellites and bring them each to different places that they need to be in orbit. It's really, really cool technology. Number 3, Artoride will make regular trips to common orbits like low lunar orbit and geosynchronous orbit, but can be chartered to any destination orbit. Artoride, number 4, Artoride will return to low Earth orbit to refuel propellant and await the next customer. Their orbital logistics depot will stay in low Earth orbit. This is like they'll just dock back to this thing, they'll refuel, they'll repair if they need to, and then they'll wait for the next customer. Super, super cool, exciting company, I think, to be a part of. And that's why I want to talk about this with you guys, because I think we'll talk about the vision of the company going forward as well. And then, finally, we'll talk about some of the pitfalls too, okay? Okay, so this deal they inked with this Canadian aerospace provider, a Canadian space systems and service company with a focus on accessible space. They've actually been a key partner in development of this last mile delivery system. I laugh, like every time I read that, our last mile delivery system. Space is massive, guys. Like it's a massive 240,000 miles away from the moon. We can see the moon in the sky, but it's 240,000 miles away. So this like last mile delivery thing is just funny to me. As the first Art of Ride customer, we are extending our collaboration to lunar exploration and are happy to announce the Momentus Art of Ride will deliver a 50-kilogram spacecraft to low lunar orbit for this company in 2023 to 2024 timeframe. It's really, really cool, right? So they're inking deals. That just was announced this last week, and that's why probably the price action happened this week that people were really excited about. They only have about $90 million in contracts right now so far. So this is a very early on in the stage. Yeah, the company had customer contracts which represent approximately $90 million in potential revenue over the next several years. Now, we're getting on the very, very ground floor of this company. But the space industry, you know, these satellites deliveries and all this kind of stuff is expected, the total addressable market for this is expected to be over $1 trillion by 2030. So we just talked about IPOB earlier, right? And how the real estate industry is like a $1.6 trillion industry. The space industry will be worth far more than that someday. Once we start mining and things like that, we're going to talk about the vision in a second. But it's worth about $400 billion right now, but it's slated to be worth over $1.4 trillion by 2030. So this is going to be a massive, massive market. Now, not all of that will be about delivering satellites, but you can see how a company like Momentus, with this first mover advantage, can get out there and take a small piece of that pie and be this service-based industry like Uber and Lyft and some of these other companies, right? So let's talk about the roadmap and vision of what Momentus has, okay? So by 2025, they are aiming to be able to provide a full range of infrastructure services in microgravity and deep vacuum, which will open the door to infinite manufacturing possibilities. What they're talking about here is creating manufacturing facilities in space, essentially, and being the ones to deliver those facilities around orbit. By 2030, they're talking about creating massive, like they use the word gigantic space-based data centers. Also, they're working on creating vehicles that also have robotic arms and can do mining and things like that as well. They talk about the abundance of water and asteroids on the moon and Mars and the ease of extraction and storage, secure water as the first viable extraterrestrial mined resource. They also talk about iron and nickel and how that exists in abundance in space and make great construction materials. So they're talking about mining asteroids and things like that. This is a way, way out in the future company, like decades, right? Decades. It takes a long time for this tech to even be thought of, to even be prototyped and worked on. And SpaceX is already revolutionizing this industry with their reusable rockets. Now we have the opportunity to finally invest in a space company. But their CEO is right now a Russian national, okay? And because of different sanctions and things like that, the CEO of a $1.2 billion space company can't use its technology. Now again, this guy is the founder of the company. He's the creator of most of the technology, but because of sanctions and things, he can't really be a part of the company. So this poses a threat to especially the short term of the company, okay? So there's all these legal issues, right? Like, so what if he isn't granted asylum? Then what happens? They have to find a new CEO, but he seems to be the brains behind the business. And a lot of us love these founder-driven companies like SpaceX and Amazon and IPOB, Open Door that we just talked about today. A lot of us love that these founders are brilliant, and as long as they're around to run the company, there's so much more that they can do to motivate people because they understand the product and they're there to create new product and have this vision for the future. And that's what Mikhail, the CEO of Momentous, can do. But there are some potential issues because of national security that could create murky waters here with this company. So I want you guys to be aware of this and be concerned about this in the short term if you're going to invest in this company. Now, does that just automatically mean that Momentus won't be successful without the CEO? No, it doesn't. But it will be a different company without the CEO. So we need to keep that in mind. But they already have a lot of these contracts in place. They will continue to grow. In my mind, I believe they will. And it's a brilliant technology and idea that is, it's so in the future that it's hard for any of us to fathom that this is even a business right now. But in 20 years, this may be very commonplace for a company to be carting satellites around in different places in orbit, and lunar orbit and Mars orbit. So we've got to think a little bit further out in the future if we're going to be investing in a company like Momentous. So if the CEO is granted asylum, he's saying he will apply for U.S. citizenship, and there's a good chance that we won't have any issues with this. Okay, there's a good chance, but depending on how it all shakes out with Russian relations and stuff, it's a concern that needs to be top of mind, and we need to make the most informed decisions we can. Okay. Now, by no means, again, I say this in every video, this is for entertainment purposes only. By no means should you make buying or selling decisions based on what I'm saying. And I want you guys to make the most informed decisions possible. That's why I make these videos. That's it. That's the reason, okay? And I am really, really excited about this company and its future. I am not a shareholder yet. I don't know if I will be anytime soon because I want the issues with the CEO to kind of shake itself out. If I have to buy this company at $50 after the merger, I'm fine with that, because if this company is going to be successful, they will be worth tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars in the future because of where space will take this company, because of first mover advantage and the brilliant tech that they have behind and driving the company. Okay, so if I have to pay a premium for this stock, I'm personally fine with that if I have a little bit more certainty right now. Now, that doesn't mean you can't buy this company right now at $16 and make a good profit after the merger or before the merger. That doesn't mean you can't do that. But I will not be investing right now. But I really, really love the company. I love what they're doing. I'm really, really excited about the tech. And I hope this video helped you guys make some sort of informed decision. That's my goal when I make these videos, okay? So that's all I have for SRAC right now and Momentous. Let me know what you guys think about the company down in the comments. I would really appreciate the dialogue. And yeah, as always, if you didn't already do it, click that beautiful red subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.